This talk is supported by Small PDF, the successful Swiss scale-up making PDF easy for over 1 billion people around the world since 2013. You may remember them from a previous podcast we hosted with their CEO, Dennis Just. Their mission is to make PDFs and life easy for people across the world, a mission made possible with their 90-plus amazing employees across Zurich, Belgrade, and Barcelona. If you want to join this fast-growing Swiss scale-up, visit smallpdf.com/Swisspreneur and apply.
Gin and tonic cost maybe in Zurich 14 francs, and then an alcohol-free one should be 12 francs or something. It was always 10-20% cheaper. However, the production is actually much more complicated. It does take more effort.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Christof, a very welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks for the invite. It's very nice to be here.
You're the co-founder and CEO at Rebellious, a non-alcoholic spirits manufacturer. And before you actually joined the startup world, you studied economics and business administration and then went to work for big corporates like Unilever, Lindt & Sprüngli. So I wonder, how did this corporate experience, this corporate world shape you as a person?
Well, it was a long time. I worked there, and actually when I finished my university in 2004, I think it was clear that I want to join a big fast mover consumer goods with cool brands, and I was fascinated by the brands and the marketing. And it was very clear that I joined them, and I learned a lot. I think it's a good school. It's a great marketing school. It's a great school to learn how to deal with consumers and so on, and how to shape brands. At a certain point, I noticed that I want to do my own thing. I want to be not restricted through politics or whatever. So that's why I then decided to do my own startup.
And you also actually did a sabbatical back in 2019. Was the corporate world sort of breaking you that this was necessary?
No, not at all. But I think I really wanted to make a clear cut. So I left at that time my chocolate job at Lindt & Sprüngli, and at that time I was not sure what I want to do. So I was exploring different routes. I thought it's a good idea to go on a spiritual walk. It was sort of 3-4 weeks. I was on the way through Spain, and I had a lot and enough time to think about it and talk to interesting people.
Yeah, you actually walked the Camino de Santiago, the famous one.
Yeah.
What did you experience there? What impact did that have on you as a person?
It's a fascinating walk. So basically, the only to-do you have in the morning is to get up and follow the arrows the signs basically towards Santiago. And so you have a lot of capacity in your brain and to think about other things and explore routes and also to meet other people maybe have similar experiences or totally different ones. Very inspiring at the end. Yeah.
Were there some things that came to your mind or that you experienced that were surprising to you?
I don't necessarily remember a particular one, but the whole experience was very fulfilling, and it probably will be in my heart for a long time, if not forever.
Right.
And I met people who actually one of them gave me a hint towards what I'm doing now. So it was that this category which I'm doing now was first. I heard about it the first time on the Santiago.
So it really did have a lasting effect, so to speak.
Yeah. So it was also for that reason was good that I did it at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you then really had this desire to start your own company.
Yeah.
Where does that entrepreneurial drive come from? Do you have any entrepreneurs in the family, or why was the desire so strong to start your own venture?
That's a good question. Not necessarily that I have in my family a clear entrepreneurship background. But I think I just wanted to try it. Somehow I had in mind I want to do it, I want to try it. I was not sure if I can do it, if I'm the one who succeeds.
Right.
But I am very much into the saying that you should try it and then you find out. And you will regret if you haven't tried it. And that's why I gave it a chance. And never regretted it so far.
Fantastic. And I can imagine with your positions that you had, in the corporate world, there you also get very, decently paid for your services, for your time. That is a bit of a different story when you then start your own company, because then you basically have to invest. Was that mentally or also, financially a challenge for you? Because I can imagine you do have to also adapt your lifestyle, etc.
Yeah, you need to. I mean, you want that. I was never really driven by money. Of course, it's more comfortable to have some money aside, and it also helped me to have some decent time to invest in basically in building a startup. But I made myself a financial plan. How long can I survive without earning anything? That gave me a bit of peace of mind, and the rest is just I knew I can always go back if I fail. Stupid word, but if I fail, then I can go back, and I learned a lot. I never really thought it's a big risk I'm taking here, at a certain point you will earn some money, but not as much as before. That's true.
I actually like that sentence, that you cannot fail. That it's actually, it's not a big risk that you're taking. That's sort of a mind game. Do you think that this is particularly true for Switzerland because we live in such a high quality life?
Probably. I don't know how it is in other countries, but I think yes. So when I thought about what can happen, I always thought, what can happen in Switzerland? I mean, we're so much protected by so many levels that, and then you also have your family. So yes, I didn't think that I took a big of a risk. Nevertheless, a lot of friends said, "Wow, that's quite that's quite a risk you're taking here, and you leave behind quite a lot." And I thought, no, let's try it.
I like that.
And the opportunities is then, on the other hand, also much bigger.
Of course, absolutely.
The upside could be big, could also be not big.
High risk, high reward, right?
Exactly.
And you mentioned also that you had certain money on the bank account to live for a period without salary. How long was that period that you were aiming for there?
Yeah, it takes probably longer than I expected. I had to reduce a bit my lifestyle. I went to a cheaper apartment. So that made me to survive more than a year, and that's probably also necessary. And then you need to find other ways how to maybe get some money in between, some mandates or something. There's always also interesting to find some opportunities to get some money.
Absolutely.
Aside,
But then you would say that a bit like 1 year or a bit longer than that would be a good starting point to not need a salary to get started if you have this opportunity, of course.
Yeah, and then I mean everyone has different let's say possibilities or opportunities. I had some money aside, it's good, but not that much. But if you don't have money, then there's other ways. I mean,
sure,
we might talk about it later, but a crowdfunding campaign or other things, other little family, friends, fools. That there will be opportunities or possibilities to get some money also
100%.
to survive. Yeah.
So then it was actually in 2020 when you then co-founded Rebels together with Yannick Planzer. So first of all, where did you and Yannick meet for the first time?
So it was not at the party one would expect, or no, actually it was fascinating. I didn't know him before. I did a network meeting, one of a lot of network meetings, a startup network meeting. Actually, it was a Zoom call at that time because it was already the beginning of COVID. And I did talk with someone, and I talked about, I need a co-founder. Are you potentially be interested? And no, I do other stuff, but I have a friend, which I worked together at Diageo before. So, cool. Okay, I will let him know. And almost at the same time, I did an interview, a consumer interview, one of many. And then this person had a partner who knew also Yannick. So from two sides, it's almost like destiny somehow. It's a bit cheesy, but it gave me a good feeling. And then we met each other, and we clicked.
If you don't know each other and you meet for the first time, how do you then actually decide whether you're a good fit to start a company together? That's also quite a big risk that you're taking.
Yeah, I mean, it just probably you need to take your time to find out both sides. Meet on eye level and then just do different things. We first met through a Zoom, then we did a workshop together. We started to work a bit together. I started to discuss financials also, shares, which is also an important thing, that you sort of find out if you have the same view on that. And just start. And it was luck. At the end, it is a bit luck that you meet the right person and that you complement each other, but also sort of are like-minded, maybe, but also not too much. I mean, it's always should you found the company with the very same person, or should it be totally different? For us, it's probably a bit a mix.
Yeah, probably somewhere in between, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I also wonder, in that regard, talking about shares, etc., was that very clear because you've already been working a bit on that idea? Did you then just do the 50-50 traditional split, or did you also have a bit of a different negotiation there?
It was a different negotiation. It was a different. We tried to find different ways how to calculate that. Respecting that I invested already quite a lot in time and money or opportunity costs, but also respecting that he brings a lot on the table. And we started with a low share, not 50-50, low share. And at a certain point after he was working together with me already quite a long time, we did an increase of share.
Okay. Perfect.
And I think that's an important negotiation. Yeah, the end is a negotiation, but it's an important discussion that everyone is happy at the end, and that you potentially protect each other from any arguing at the end. Yeah.
Now, whether it's negotiation or just finding the right co-founder, seeing if it's a good fit, how do you actually realize that? Is it really this gut feeling at the end where you say, well, I think this is a good fit, this can work, or is there, probably not, but is there any hard science behind it that you applied?
So gut feeling, I believe a lot in gut feeling because it's nurtured by experience and many things. So you need to listen to your stomach at the end, and that was from the beginning very, very good, and kept on being very good. But then you need to also test each other. I guess he tested me as well. Maybe actually we didn't really talk about that, but you need to talk about vesting. You need to talk about how much risk he wants to take. Is it important for him or the co-founder, or not that important? Is it a side project, or is he fully committed?
Sure.
That you need to find out with discussion. We were always very transparent with each other, and I think that's key. That you don't sugarcoat anything.
Exactly. So let's also come back to the Rebels idea. You mentioned you got the first hint about this idea on your walk path, basically.
Yeah.
What happened afterwards? How did you really come up with the idea to then build a company around that?
I mean, I was from the beginning very fascinated about the topic. So I heard about alcohol-free gin. And like probably most people, I think, how stupid is that? That's the whole point of gin is the alcohol. But very soon, and I had time to reflect. I thought that's very, very a very good idea, because there are moments when you don't want to drink alcohol, cannot, and the older you get, the hangover gets worse, and so on, And also when I then later talk to people, I noticed that it's very polarizing, which is a great starting point for building a brand. That you can. That's why we're called Rebels, because there's there's a rebellion still going on, a revolution going on.
So people talk about you, whether good or bad, whether they agree or not. People talk about you, and that's the perfect starting point.
Exactly, and that's. Alcohol without alcohol sounds for stupid, but then even with the hardcore whiskey gin lovers, we find a common ground. If you again meet each other on an eye level and sort of say, we're not against alcohol. It's just we are an alternative. It's not a replacement. It's an alternative, and then it gets interesting. Yeah.
And then actually the timing is also a critical part, right? Did you see any shifts in the market that the timing in 2020 was actually right to start Rebels, or was it more about your own need and the whole story that you just explained that led you to the foundation in 2020?
I think it was a good timing, but it was also important that we speed up, and still we are very much into trying to accelerate things, because in Switzerland probably it was almost a perfect timing, because there was some sort of pre-work done already by international brands. Dry January already existed somehow, and so on and so on. So we didn't have to explain to each and everyone what we're doing. But interestingly, that a year later, now almost 2 years later, we hardly ever have to explain why this makes sense or what we're doing. And that's the awareness, the increasing awareness part and the education part is still going on, but not from zero. And that's a good.
And it's also great if you look at the market numbers, the global alcohol consumption is actually declining, especially at the younger generation. So that is actually really playing right in that field. So they do want to have fun, they do want to drink a nice drink, but not necessarily alcohol. So what is your offering there? What are your exact products that you offer today?
So we're offering gin, rum, and aperitif alternatives so far. This is our first range. We are trying to bring spirits alternatives to the market with which you can do your drinks, with your favorite drinks, cocktails, long drinks, just without the alcohol. You actually can even mix them with a bit of alcohol, like an alcohol-free aperitif, and then use a prosecco with alcohol. Have a low alcohol version, so it's your choice at the end. But we always were driven by the world of the cocktails and long drinks, and wanted to give tools basically over our spirits to mix them.
And still, your drinks, they don't contain, but they still taste a bit like alcohol. How do you make that happen? Because that's quite a challenge, I could imagine.
Well, that's probably the biggest challenge. And they took also about a year to develop the products. Of course, first we try to find out how potentially others do it, but there's no clear recipe. There's nothing really to look up. Apart from marketing languages or so. So we need to do trial and error. We need to try different things. We tried maceration, we tried distillation, we tried different distillation methods until we then found that in our case, distilling it twice, we call it double distillation, makes it more complex, longer lasting, and closer to the classics than probably other brands.
Is that development process also something that gives you an unfair advantage over other brands? Like, is that something that you could also potentially patent or have, more of a protection against other brands that cannot do it the same way as you do it?
I know it's not from today to tomorrow that you can just do it. So it takes a bit of time. Also, big companies are coming on the market now with their products, but it's also for them it took time. And so that's an advantage. To patent it, not necessarily, because we're using common distillation methods and just combining them in the right way with the right ingredients. We also didn't really do a big effort to try to patent something, because at the end, if you patent something, there's also a recipe on the market and someone can somehow copy it. No, it's about building a brand. It's about trying to have a specific ingredients or specific way of doing, and convince people in that way.
Exactly. And your production process actually does take place here in Switzerland. Why is that the right setup for you? Isn't that way more expensive than doing it somewhere else?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, at the end, we are from Switzerland, and we are one of our. For us, it's important that we do things sustainable as possible. So that's why we use organic botanicals, for example, and the regional factor is also from the beginning an important factor. Besides, then when you prototype and do the first trials and so on, you probably start better in your surrounding, especially during COVID times.
Sure.
By the way, COVID of course made it even clearer that we need to do it local for at least first, and the health consciousness increased. So it was actually not bad for developing the right mix at the end.
We hope you're enjoying the episode. If you're an entrepreneur looking to raise your first round and would like to learn more about the fundraising process, check out our free fundraising masterclass with Pascal Koenig and Sophie Lamparter, available on our website. With videos, text breakdowns, and lots of free resources, Pascal and Sophie take you through the entire fundraising journey in 10 exciting phases. Learn more at swisspreneur.org/fundraising. And I also wonder, alcohol is quite expensive if you buy it at the store. I also wonder if you compare the production process, is it cheaper to produce your drinks, basically, which are alcoholic but non-alcoholic, or are they the same price because of the ingredients, etc.? It's not much cheaper.
One would think that it must be cheaper. No, and the consumer expects that it's cheaper.
Right.
So with many consumer interviews, everyone thought, but it should a gin and tonic cost maybe in Zurich 14 francs, and then an alcohol-free one should be 12 francs or something.
Right.
It's always 10-20% cheaper. However, the production is actually much more complicated. It does take more effort. In our case, with twice distillation, you can already imagine you need to touch things twice at least. We do need to make it the shelf life with pasteurization and so on longer. So yeah, it's a bigger effort. However, to be fair, we don't have to pay the alcohol taxes. So that gives us a bit. That gives us again on parity to alcohol.
Yeah, because otherwise that would be a real challenge, right? If you have higher costs to produce it, because it's like 2-time distillation, etc. But then people have the perception that it should be cheaper. That would be a tough market.
But it is still. I mean, we get still some questions sometimes of people. Hey, but hey, come on, why are we so expensive? First, people don't really know how much a gin costs, for example. So the comparison is always difficult. Some people know, but we are indeed 20% less expensive than the premium gins, for example. So at the end, if you explain in Switzerland, beer botanicals, double distillation, it just takes the effort to make a great product.
Right.
Then the taste decides. If they like it, then they pay it. If not, then anyway, you lost.
Exactly. Yeah. And who are actually your typical customers? Who purchases your product?
So it's difficult to say actually. We know, of course, that age and sort of and the gender, but at the end, I expected it probably would be more women. At the end, I expected that it's very young people, but at the end, it's 30, even 35 to 45 is probably the core, and then the wider one is 30 to 55, and 50-50 male and female. That's nice. Great actually, But then it's not the people who don't drink alcohol at all. It's actually more people, the moderate drinkers or the mindful drinkers, who sometimes want to reduce alcohol, even in the same evening. You start with a non-alcoholic aperitif and then take a bottle of wine during the dinner, for example. It's a typical evening of a typical rebellious evening.
I like that. That's great. So let's also talk about a few challenges that you faced so far, or obstacles that you had to overcome. The first one, usually to get started, you need inventory, you need to build, to produce products, so you need funds, right? So fundraising, you did a bit a different way. So instead of raising a pre-seed round, you actually launched a crowdfunding campaign in November 2020. And you actually reached your goal in just 11 hours. That's crazy. How did you do that?
That was fantastic. That was, first of all, of course, a proof of concept in marketing in startup language, but also highly rewarding and motivating. We knew that we wanted to connect with the community or these people through a crowdfunding campaign. It's not only about getting investments or getting the money. It's about testing the product. It's about testing the waters, basically, and potentially get early fans on board. We gave it a try, but we also prepared, we did a lot of work for preparation, a cool video, a very clear story, pictures, and then just activate your crowd.
Sure.
Each and everyone you met along your life, not just along your last 2 years, like your life, try to reach out to them and say what you're doing, and then hopefully they support, and then they do, and then the magic happens. Then the second day we didn't know the people anymore who bought our bottles.
But did you expect such a great result? Like, was that always, of course, the plan probably, but did you expect it to go that way?
I was hoping, but I remember I was very nervous. That's why we also did a sort of you can do different levels. You can have so we wanted to raise 20,000. We thought, okay, let's do a 10,000 sort of hurdle first to reach. But that it was not necessarily at the end, but it was just a bit of protection for peace of mind, potentially, that we don't fail. Again, fail, but it's not the right word, but nevertheless. We didn't expect it, we hoped it, and that's why we did probably more effort than when we would have thought it's an easy one.
Yeah. But I think that's also a good reminder, right? To make a crowdfunding campaign successful, you really need to activate the people, the crowd, as you said. You really need to put that effort into it, otherwise it's not going to work.
No, it doesn't happen by themselves. You cannot just put it on the platform and then it happens and nobody really looks for you. You need to activate the people you know and the people they know.
True. But then earlier in 2022, in February, you actually closed the 1 million seed funding round. So why was it then the right time or the right strategy to then still go for the traditional equity funding?
It's a good question. At the end, we and at the beginning of this interview, we talked about is it the right timing or not for this category for our brand. We know that we need to keep up the speeds or even accelerate to have a chance in the markets, especially internationally. And we decided that we cannot do that with bootstrapping. We need more fund that we can invest in marketing, invest in bigger productions, and so that we sort of always pre-invest in order then to do the sales, and that's why we needed funding, and also I'm super happy with the people we got on board. We get some experience on board, no? some committed experience, which hopefully help us also to open some doors or open some markets. That was the reason.
Was it difficult to raise that 1 million seed round, or was it easier than expected for you?
Contrary, more difficult than expected, or maybe not than expected. I knew that it will be difficult. I hoped that it will get a bit faster, but it took a few months longer than we expected or hoped. But that's always. It always takes a bit longer and costs a bit more, and it was the same for us. So lots of pitching and a lot of trying to find other investors and talking to people. Yeah.
What was your biggest challenge there? Often I hear from startups that they say, everybody says they like our case, but nobody wants to give us the first commitment. What were you in a similar situation, or what was the biggest challenge for you there?
Yeah, it was indeed difficult to have. We had an early commitment. One of our investors was actually one of the first one to say yes, but he is not the lead investor. So there's always someone who I could refer to and say, hey, we have someone on board, a respected senior leader. But then you need to have somehow a lead investor because he needs to do the work, he needs to do the due diligence and so on. And then if you then find somehow a respected lead investor who people think, okay, if this person invests with this experience, then probably it's a good thing. And then there's a momentum happening. As of a sudden, we got last-minute investors to actually then fill the million.
Nice.
At the very last minute almost. Yeah.
So it really is, developing this momentum to then fill up the round and be able to close it.
Yeah. And then always also be authentic. I mean, for me, it's very important that, and also for Yannick, that we stay like we are, that we don't try to pretend something. We were always very transparent with our successes, but also open about the challenges, and that's probably then like this you build probably trust, and vice versa. I want to hear the same from the investors. Yeah.
Exactly. And one of these challenges I could imagine is once you have then developed and produced the product is you also have to distribute and sell it, right? So how do you sell that? Because you do both, you do B2B and B2C.
Yeah, I remember when the first lockdown happened that of course forced us to rethink probably the channel strategy, and it forced us to think more also towards online. It was always clear that we wanted to sell our products also online, but it was then as of a sudden a bigger importance. But then, and we decided to do a multi-channel strategy that we try to be available in as many touch points as possible. And we decided to find partners so that we don't go to every bar ourselves, to every wholesaler ourselves, or every retailer ourselves. We still do that. But we have a distributor who basically has a sales force and has the team basically to go in to all the channels in Switzerland.
And how does that work? Is that something that you also have to pay them to do that, or do they get paid just on the sales that they generate, or how does that exactly work with the distributor?
With a distributor, basically, you sell your product at a price, which enables him to earn a margin with the prices. He resells the products to the next channels, basically.
Perfect.
And there's also models like that you pay someone to go out, and with every bottle sold, you get 1-2 francs potentially.
Right.
But that's the organized one is of course the margin game. Everyone at every level should have a decent margin, with which he or she is happy with.
Yeah. Otherwise, the incentives are not right.
Yeah.
Then why should they push you, right?
Yeah. Same. If you think we don't earn enough, then we're not motivated. If they think they are exploited, then they're not motivated.
So that's your B2B part, where you actually have the gastro and the retail part that you cover there. Then you also have your own online store. How do they look like in relations? How many percentage do you sell over your own online store, and how much do you do B2B?
It's interesting. So far, it's like a third. Like all the channels we have, like the online and the on-trade, like the gastronomy, and the off-trade is like 30% each. The potential of the off-trade is bigger, of course. If you go to big channels, then you have a huge upside.
Sure.
And online, we're also still exploring. We're hoping to get much bigger there. But so far, it's like equal shares.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, online, you are not alcoholic, so you don't contain any alcohol. Does that make it easier for you to advertise your product? Because I know for many platforms, you're not allowed to do ads on alcoholic beverages.
It is easy. Well, we can do every advertisement which we want, so we're not restricted. Nice. Somehow, Google and Facebook still has algorithms in place. If they see a gin bottle, because we look like a gin bottle, they first sort of stop us, but then we need to say, we're the contrary, we're alcohol free.
Exactly.
At the end, we can show people, we can show emotions, which alcoholic brands are not allowed to.
And if you look at the margins, I assume if you can sell it directly through your own online store, it's probably a better business for you.
Of course, it's the direct to consumer, so it's the margin there is better. However, also the effort is then of course a bit bigger, because you also need a partner. It's not that we have a fulfillment center. You need to pay them as well, so it's also a margin game. Also
exactly.
There.
And in the future, which focus would you like to set? Do you aim to push your own online store, or do you prefer to go more the B2B side?
Both. So the online store will always be under our protection, our lead. We want to give that out of our hands, and it's also a means, a possibility to build our brand. Yep. But we need to have a distributor in every country, or like a partner for the sales offline, basically. And that's what we're currently looking in the different countries which we are exploring, like Germany, Benelux, Nordics, that we find partners to work with us.
That was exactly my next question, because Switzerland is a great starting point, right? But you probably also have to go international. So are you already look into these markets? Are you already live in some of the markets?
Yeah, I mean, Switzerland will always be our home country and always be important, and actually not a bad market, of course, but it's small. It's small, and we knew from the beginning we want to go international, at least Europe. We want to be successful in, and we are since a month now.
Absolutely. Now, if you look at where you stand today, you sold more than 17,000 bottles. You are available in more than 150 bars, hotels, and stores. We just talked about the international expansion, but what's next for you? What do you have on your roadmap? What you want to do? Maybe new products or something else?
I mean, for sure, we have now a nice range with which people like, and we got some awards for them as well. So we think we have a good product range already, and that's important now to expand that into other countries. So that's the key priorities, or expand to the more channels also in Switzerland. But it also makes sense to launch new spirits alternatives, to be able to mix even more cocktails without alcohol, and that's we're currently doing. Very exciting again. Sort of the new product development is happening right now, and hopefully launch quite soon some new alternatives. So basically expanding into new channels and new countries, and also expanding the product range is key.
Can you already share which spirit replacement that we can expect from you?
Yeah, let's keep it a secret for the moment.
Okay.
There are some obvious ones. I mean, just look at what people drink for aperitif and so on. You can imagine potentially which ones.
We stay tuned.
I will update you as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Now, something that we also always like to ask our guests is some personal resources and gadgets recommendations. So do you have any books, blogs, podcasts that you can recommend to our listeners?
A good one. I mean, I not necessarily a blog or a book, but I follow and I'm in touch with several startup networks like Food Hack, Crowd Foods. Follow your podcast, of course, as well. And I think for me it's important to be in touch with people because you have a small team or at the beginning even no team, so you need to make sure you have people you can refer to, build an advisor network as well. So that's important.
Yeah. So exchanging amongst peers to help each other out.
Yeah, exactly.
And now for the very last part, we have some rapid fire questions for you. So I either give you a short question or different options to choose from.
Okay, cool.
And you have to answer in one sentence. You ready?
Okay, ready.
If you had to choose one for the rest of your life, gin, rum or aperitif?
I always loved gin, so probably it's gin. I love all of them of our products, but gin is my favorite go-to drink.
Fantastic. And what is your favorite drink recipe?
Very simple, gin and tonic. And the second one, if I can add one, is a Negroni version, an alcohol-free Negroni version, like in the Negroni.
Nice. Yeah. Brand manager at a big corporate or emerging entrepreneur?
Second one.
Easy choice.
I would do the same again like I did. I loved my brand's manager time, but it's very fulfilling to do your own enterprise.
Absolutely. What was the worst hangover you ever had in your life?
Well, I must admit there were a few of them. So I don't remember a particular one, but I remembered. I noticed that the older I get, the worse the hangover will get. That's probably also the reason.
So you need less and less alcohol, but the hangover remains the same.
At least the same. Yeah, exactly.
And the last one for you, for many people, alcohol can be a bad habit. So I wonder, what's one bad habit that you wish you could quit?
Well, probably I tend to be almost in the last minute, so I should leave the house a bit earlier that I don't have to stress all the time. I'm always a bit too optimistic with time, so maybe.
Well, today you were very much on time. It was actually me who was running a bit late.
5 minutes before, I was proud actually.
Absolutely. So great job. Christof, thank you so much for stopping by. It was a pleasure talking to you and lots of success and all the best for the future.
Thank you very much for the inviting.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.